Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's roundtable. I think what I have to do is pin us so everybody can see everybody. Uh, there we go. That works a little better. Nice to see you, Jonathan, and you too, Dean. Today we're
Hey,
going to discuss how to choose. And so we don't want to be a flat squirrel. The first meme will be the world is full of flat squirrels who couldn't figure out which way they wanted to get off the road and they got run over. So, yes, to avoid being a flat squirrel, we will figure out how to learn to make good decisions, to make them in a timely manner. And we'll talk about, how we go about doing that. So let's dive in and give ourselves something to chew on here. Let's see. I don't know why. Hang on a second. Cancel. Okay, here we go. It's okay. Well, it's going to make me do this. Hang on. Okay, we're ready to share. Okay, today we're looking at how to choose, and we'll do a better job of it than the squirrel we were talking about. Okay, here's some things for us to kick around as we do our roundtable with coaches today. Be decisive, right or wrong, make a decision. The road of life is paved with flat squirrels who couldn't make a decision. So, some of the things we can talk about in when we're looking at how do we choose, how do we make decisions? We can confirm our data, we can mitigate risks, we can evaluate costs, we can list good outcomes. If this worked out, what does that look like? We can identify places to pivot. We can research what others have done. Okay, now for some memes. You see all those paint chips in the background? If you've ever redecorated or painted a room, you'll find out there's like 30 kinds of white, let alone all the other colors. So it can be a challenge to choose. Pretty sure I only need one more bad decision and I'll have the whole set. So also, if it was up to me, it would not be up to me. Finally, last night I turned wine into bad decisions. Your move, Jesus. Okay, so we'll try to make some good decisions and not be flat squirrels. And I don't know if this prompted any memories. I had one real quick from that one meme. If it was up to me, it would not be up to me. I was once on a jury for a murder trial,
hmm,
not long after I moved to Texas. I guess I was, a new Texas driver's license in the pool or whatever, so I got called. And I was sure they weren't going to pick me because I was like number 85 out of 150. No, they picked me. So
wow.
now I'm on this jury, and we go into the back and we have to pick a foreman. And I usually default to leadership, but in the work I do and so on. And there was a gentleman who said, I'll be the foreperson. And I was like, oh, thank God. I don't even want to see the pictures, hear the story about the murder. So I also don't want to be in charge. So if it was up to me, it wasn't going to be up to me. And thank goodness he did a terrific job and very no nonsense, just the facts, and got us through the work that we did on that jury. So I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts? Would you like to start, Jonathan? Would you prefer to start, Dean? Who would like to go first?
Well, I can go.
Okay.
So we're talking about making decisions.
Yeah, how to
Yeah.
choose.
Yes, and I'm going to say something that I think is a little different from
Okay.
all of the suggestions we've had, right?
Great.
Like the thing, my thought is that making decisions mostly is not really a difficult process for people. What's really difficult is knowing your values
Mm.
and being honest about what you are after and want.
The first step is to include a values consideration in the
Right.
decision.
Right. And so I think what's really difficult for people um is to say deep down I know I want whatever it is, a house in the country. I want 15 kids. I want to, I want to live in the city and work a job that pays me $250,000 a year. I mean, whatever those uh, inward desires are, the clearer you are on those, the easier decision making becomes. Let me just say this: the easier big decision making becomes. So you can pretty clearly choose between what does and what doesn't lead to a goal. So, like you were saying, I think we were talking before we started recording. If you know you want a lot of children and you're dating someone who does not, then making a decision about whether to continue that relationship is not difficult. Now, executing it might be difficult because you might be attached or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people sometimes get confused between making the decision and executing it. So there might be emotional weight to carry. There might be hurt feelings. There might be disappointments, all of that. But actually knowing what you need to do is typically, I don't think, that hard for people
Mm-hmm.
if they're clear about what they are aiming for. I do think there's a second class of decision, which is kind of what we might call a comparative advantage decision.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, and sometimes those can be more difficult. So you know you want a house in the country, but your bank is saying, here are three different types of loans you could apply for, and they all have different pluses and minuses and pros and cons. Now, those are the sort of secondary type of decision where you're trying to choose the best path to the end goal that you've already decided, you already know you want.
Mm-hmm.
And in those places, the kinds of pros and cons and weighing things out and the approaches that you had listed there in the slide at the beginning, that's probably where those things come into play. So maybe the other thing too is to say it's important for people to distinguish what kind of decision they're making.
Mm-hmm.
Are they making a decision about ceasing to be out of alignment with the goal that they want? Or are they making like a comparative advantage decision where you're looking at three options to get to the same goal and you're trying to decide between the advantages and disadvantages of each one.
Mm-hmm.
So just being clear about what kind of decision you're making probably helps.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I think too, last couple things I'll say is that I think people sometimes try to make decisions about what they want when what you want is almost never really a decision. It's just a reality that's there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if there people sometimes want things at one level and simultaneously want mutually exclusive things at a different level. So it doesn't even that's not really a decision making process. It's more of an exploration about why are you not integrated around these things.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think I would encourage people not to spend time thinking that they have to decide what they really want long term, as opposed to simply discover it. And then, the other two kinds of decisions come into play about what in your life do you need to get rid of because it's not in alignment, and then look at comparative advantages for the different paths that lead to the same goal. And all of those have slightly different um, approaches by how you would choose them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, maybe that's enough for me right now.
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate that. Jonathan, I was thinking about people who make a choice. We were talking about people in relationship versus people that are dating to get into a relationship. And those sets of choices look a little different because you've already made the major choice of being in relationship with that person. So much consensus building has influence on the decisions we make. People say, "Oh, you're lucky to have a beautiful girlfriend. You're lucky to have a wonderful boyfriend." And you can feel this isn't working for me anymore, and my friends or my family's not going to understand. Like from the outside, it looks like this, but from the inside, it's something else.
Mm.
And it can be hard to make a new decision when it's everyone is agreeing that you've got your life set up. You hear about people who go through medical school and decide they don't want to be a doctor. I talked to a doctor a little while back, and during COVID, he came to the conclusion that all that schooling, he understands so much more, but he wanted to do a very specific thing in a very specific way, stepped out of hospital care and opened clinics about this specific thing done a specific way. So sometimes life will mature your choices because you've tried and you've learned other things, and now you have a new direction as a result of the choices you made. But Jonathan, do you have clients come to you say, I thought I was going to love this and I did for a while, and I don't love it anymore?
It's I have had, but to the original point, um, it is true what Dean was saying. I think it is the foundation. Knowing what, like, who you are, explore yourself first. That will allow your decision making process to be. It narrows your options from 300,000 to four, or sometimes to two, or some at times there's only one. So it just narrows, like, everything. Um, so yeah, knowing yourself is the first one. Also, understanding what you want versus what you need, because you can want something, but if you actually explore yourself first, you're going to need something different. Now, to get to this process, you might already need to be working with someone. So this is more advanced if I really think about it. Now, to get to the point to be working with someone, all you have to do is, this will be the easiest way. This is how I did it. Just think of where you want to be. How do you want to look in the future if you were to be alive? And look for someone that is already doing that. Look for someone that is already there, and ask. Sometimes they're not going to be coaches, but just ask for help. There's a lot of different kind of coaching now, so there's like an extensive line of coaches. So now it's different. It's not like the old times. So now you can reach out if it's not in your town. Like, for example, if you live in Venezuela, I'm not going to be there, but I can be with you online, right?
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, finding someone that is already where you want to be, and just reach out, or choose that kind of coach. Also, it, once you choose someone to work with, you have to make sure that there's like a chemistry going on. Like, for example, I do not listen to a lot of humans. Like, it's hard for me to, like, actually trust someone on what it's coming out of their mouths. So I am very picky. So if you actually pay attention to what they're saying, and you like what they're saying, and you trust them, that is a great sign. So once you find someone that is where you want to be, and if you have chemistry with them, it's a sign that it's actually the right kind of person to work with. Um, and I am hard to coach, but when I find someone that I can trust, I just shut up and listen. It's, it's you know, um, it's been a while, but it's true. Um, you find someone that is where you want to be, and reach out. And in this platform, we have a lot of different kind of coaches and styles. So if you're watching this, again, it's worth exploring,
Yeah.
because you're not going to get where you want to be by yourself, and if you do, it's going to take a lifetime, or probably a couple of lifetimes. And why do you want to spend so much time when you know that you can get there, like, faster?
I think we've all talked with clients before who've said, I want to work for myself, but they really don't have an idea about what that entails. And if they're not a self-starter and they don't have discipline and they're not willing to do the accounting and the marketing and the besides just the work of whatever it is, they may find I thought what I wanted was to work for myself. Now that I'm doing that, I'm not sure that's what I want.
Mhm.
And, it takes courage to try and then courage to tell yourself the truth that didn't work out or that did work out, but I need to pivot. I have talked with people who've taken a managerial role or supervisory role because that was the next step up the ladder where they worked in order to earn more money. So the goal was to earn more money. And to do that, they had to become a manager or supervisor. And then they find out they kind of hate managing and supervising. They don't like it. They're not well suited for it, but there wasn't another path to more money. And so to step away from managing and supervising if you're not suited for it, it's making you miserable. And then find another path to more money. So sometimes we have to try things and then pivot. And the choice is that there might also be other choices out ahead of us that we can't see from here. Any thoughts, Dean?
Yes, I think again, well, first of all, let me go back to anchoring into sort of a vision for your life and the values that you want to express. So that that's how you know if you need to pivot, right? So that if you have your destination clear, it becomes much easier to course correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so somebody who thinks they want to work for themselves, but so I don't know what they do. They open a flower shop,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they think, well, flowers isn't quite it for these reasons. Well, at the very least, now you have a business you could sell, and and you can find a path that is more aligned with where you're trying to go,
Mm-hmm.
and just because you have your destination clear. And I also think a lot of times around those things that what inhibits good decision making is things like you kind of were getting at, like shame, right? Like I did all this work to open a flower shop and make it successful, and now I don't want to do it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think many people might feel shame in that situation, like, well, like what's my mom gonna say? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But that also is much more easily mitigated if your destination is clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then when somebody says, "Well, you just started a flower shop. Now what? Now why are you going to, I don't know, go be a plumber or whatever it is?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have justified that to yourself as being more aligned with the destination you're after, then it matters less what other people say about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so pivoting in that way ceases to be a kind of defeat, and it's actually a very proactive way of winning because you're not so married to this one path, um, but you are able to sort of switch paths and course correct as you're steering yourself toward the destination you're after.
Mm-hmm. I think if we take the idea that the journey is the thing,
Hmm.
rather than the destination, we have a little bit more permission to kind of explore things along the way in the journey. Carrie Fisher comes to mind. She was Princess Leia in the first three Star Wars movies.
Hmm.
And she did lots of other movies and she did TV over her career, but she stopped getting roles because she aged out of being the ingenue or the lead character. And so she became a sought after script doctor. So she had been in the industry so long and became very versatile at being handed a script and saying, this is what you do to tie this together. These
Oh,
two parts work. Here's what you're missing in the middle. And that was where she was at the end of her journey, all of things she'd learned and knew. And then she had this unique skill that developed over time. So, and she was behind the scenes and very good at it and well compensated for fixing bad movie scripts.
and she
So,
also became a novelist and wrote a bunch of memoirs.
mm.
So I mean I mean I'm just adding to that because there you
Yeah.
can see a person pivoting all over the place.
Yeah, and she had a famous family and famous difficulties that she
Right.
navigated. But I think, Jonathan, if we give ourselves permission to pivot when we need to, as I was looking at the research, which will be down below, the Harvard research recommends morning pages. And so that's where, when you're trying to come to clear decisions, you get up in the morning and you write for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever's on your mind, but you're basically clearing the decks so that when you turn your attention to work or the decisions you're going to make, all the miscellaneous stuff is not, polluting your brain. And so I think meditation, self-hypnosis, there are a lot of techniques you can use to kind of streamline your thinking so you're set yourself up to be oriented towards decision-making mode. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jonathan?
Yes, I have so many. Um, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that once you choose someone, you don't have to stick to that particular coach for the rest of your life. It is, in my experience, it's a process of growing and learning. And sometimes, which has happened to me, you will become perhaps wiser than that particular coach in that particular area, and they can teach you no more. And if they're honest to themselves, they're going to be like, hey, I it's time for you to fly. Go find somebody else, or you might be ready to not need somebody else. But I can't teach you no more. This is it that I have on that particular area. And of course, there is so many different realms. Uh, like I cannot teach someone how to be a master bowler or play like bowling. Like I cannot do that. Somebody else can. Um, but in some areas of life, once you choose someone, you don't have to attach to that person and like be like, this is the only coach that I can work
Right.
with, because it's a progressive thing, and there's going to be so many different ones that you might find during your life. And if you're doubting that the journey is the joy, which is hard to believe, because honestly, when you have those hard times in life and you're like, if you exist, why me? Just think about it. The end of the destination is death. So that is it. That's it. So if you have any doubt, the beauty of the whole thing is this moment. You should think twice or three times. Also, in one of the areas that I'm really good at is when it comes to also relationships. I have had the experience of having the beautiful girlfriend that everybody looks at and is like wow. Can I take a picture of her? Can I touch her? No, you cannot. And then at the same time being like, something is missing and something does not feel right. And if I keep going like this, I do not see my future going like in a bright way. So I have had that experience, for example, of on from the outside, everybody looking from the outside, it looks perfect and wonderful and like amazing. But the reality is that if you're honest to yourself, is it might be not. So it is worth exploring, and it all comes back to like exploring yourself. Like, is it worth it to have these kind of relationships, friendships, work? Sometimes the work that people have, they might be getting a lot of income or currency, because it's not even money what they're getting, but that's another topic that we can say from another time. um, and it's like, is it worth it for you to have this job that is making you have all this stress, anxiety, and like overload of energy? And the reality at the end is like, no, they will be happier um, working on a flower shop, for example. Just like just there with playing with the bees on while there's no customers. So it is worth exploring. And yeah, you don't have to be with the same coach forever. But you should definitely choose something that it matches where you are, because where you are now does not fix where you're going to be tomorrow, and that's the beauty of it.
I think you can today get so much research done online, but you can also talk with people who are already doing what you're thinking of doing. Have the courage to reach out and say, they call it an informational interview. Can I have 15 minutes and ask you a couple of questions about the business you're in so I understand it better? I remember when a business partner and I launched a residential mortgage company, which we ran for 7 years. I approached someone who had been the owner of a different business I'd been in like 10 years earlier. And he was kind of an older mentor. And we met for coffee. And I said, I'm thinking about launching this mortgage business. And he said, the mortgage business is feast or famine. Interest rates move outside of your control. And when they go lower, your business doubles and you have to expand how much you can get done. And when they go up, your business halves and you're going to lay people off. Or you're going to have to run a lean operation and then kill yourself when business is busy. And so I went in eyes open. I decided to still do it, but at least I knew that there was going to be a ride like this. And so it didn't deter me, but I was better informed, and was clear about, oh, this is a component of this industry that I understand now. So, and I think as people make a decision to end something, you can be clear-eyed about that too. Here's what I've gained from it, and I'm clear about why I no longer want to continue. So, Dean, do you have any thoughts about if what you're choosing is an ending?
Well, uh, yes. First of all, I'll mention a resource. There's a very good book called I don't recall the exact title, but I know the word endings is in the title. It's by Henry Cloud, whose work I've read a lot of and who has had a lot of
I'll
influence.
find it and I'll put it in the show
Yeah.
notes.
And just as exactly what you said, in terms of choosing an ending, well, typically I think people don't choose endings that aren't also beginnings,
Mhm.
right? And I think i- if it's an ending that where there's a lot of resistance or a lot of emotion around that, sort of always at least mentally situating that in the beginning,
Mhm.
and the new in whatever's beginning probably makes it more emotionally navigable, so that if you're closing your flower shop to open a bookstore, right? You're in a way, you're not really even closing a flower shop. You're opening a bookstore when one of the steps to that is closing the flower shop.
Mhm.
And I just think that having a inward perspective that's future focused helps make it clear when an ending is necessary. Um, yeah, and I think in terms of like, I don't know, ending relationships or whatever, I think that's a lot trickier. And I think often people do that more frivolously than is necessary or good.
Mhm.
And so the way to avoid that is to make sure that you are, like you said, very clear about what the value is and what the issue, why you're ending it. Because when a relationship ends and one person wants it to and one doesn't, um, not having a clear explanation for why is in a way almost sort of disrespectful. So the clearer you can be about the why, um, the better, I think. And it's a matter, I think, too, of just of justice, right? Because the other person is losing something. And so I suppose that's true even if you close a flower shop, like your community is losing a flower shop,
Your
right?
staff is let go and
Right. So I think that being sensitive to the losses that are entailed in what for you is forward movement
Mhm.
is really, really critical. And to recognize those losses and to seek to mitigate those in any way you can
Mhm.
allows you to end something and begin something more cleanly than it would if you were less sensitive to those things.
I think sometimes people in life, they have an idea about how their life is going to turn out or what a good life looks like without, walking the path of that life. And
Mhm.
once they get their feet on that path, they might have a new idea about
Right.
what they want or
Sure.
how things are going to turn out. And then there's also the seasons of life. I was talking with someone who leads a group of eBay entrepreneurs, and her two top producers are 70 years old. And they both live in New York. They were both very capable executives, and they retired and they got bored. And so they were collectors of certain things. So they had niche understanding of something. And they met this woman on Facebook, and they both opened eBay shops. So from their kitchen tables in their New York apartments at 70, they're earning six figures. But it's just they had free time and they wanted to be busy or doing something. And they moved into an area that was, low threshold to begin, in an area they already knew and liked, collecting things they knew and liked. And so we can surprise ourselves sometimes, Jonathan. We find ourselves in a place where I think I should go to India. I think I should move back to Indiana. I think I should move to Vietnam. We can surprise ourselves sometimes as we make decisions and say, I'm ready to try something else.
Mhm.
What do you think?
The surprise factor is always there. It's,
Mhm.
if you how do you say, you guys, in English? You gotta risk it to get the biscuit.
That's right.
Yeah, like if I wanted to be an eBay sensation and like in the niche of like selling collectibles, I will definitely reach out to these 70-year-old persons,
Mhm.
especially because I know that they're gonna have some. They don't have kids now, so they're gonna have some extra time to hang out with me via email, and they're going to give me a trick or two. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Is all about understanding where you are, being honest to yourself, um, and look for someone that is already where you want to be, or that you admire. Like also, like if you do not admire the coach that you're going to be working with, it's not going to work,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a waste of your time, and it's going to be a waste of your coach's energy as well. um, we don't want that. Now, taking the risk, yes, I believe taking risks is part of making a choice. Sometimes the risk factor is always going to be there, but it's worth it. Uh, that's all I can say. It is worth to take the risk. What's the other option? Like staying safe, doing nothing that is going to change your life. It doesn't sound like a. It, I mean, it sounds safe, but you may still get like a heart attack. So it's not that really that safe. Okay.
Well, I think understanding your own ability to navigate risk or mitigate risk, your own ability for how to learn something new if you're going to try to do something new. And sometimes the people around you or the people you reach out to might just tell you where to begin, or how to try. And if you give yourself permission to try and then permission to pivot, if it turns out you don't really like it, it doesn't feel like you're making a fatal mistake of some kind. So, final thoughts, Dean, and let us know how to get a hold of you.
Um, make sure I wasn't muted. Final thoughts. I think again, like I said, I think there is a lot of value in knowing yourself, knowing what your underlying desires are, and also we haven't even talked about this much, but really developing an intuitive sense of how to get to those desires fulfilled.
Mhm.
And and at that point, decision making becomes often, I find, not even a matter of decision making, almost more a matter of obedience, right? So I was just talking to a client earlier today, and he brought up sort of the example of smoking,
Mm,
right? Like smoking cigarettes. Well, if you know you want to be able to run a marathon, okay, that deep down you want to be able to do that, and you're smoking a pack a day. Um, it's not that you don't know, it's not that you have to decide that this is out of alignment with the thing. It's that you have to obey that in part of you that every time you pick up a cigarette says you probably shouldn't do that, right? And this is, I think, this is part of how a lot of people come to experience what we call depression, right? Is that they continually don't obey those inner voices and impulses that are trying to push them toward what really is the fulfillment of their person. And so I guess my final thoughts are listen to yourself and obey.
Very good. How do we find you?
Oh, deanabbott.com, alifedesigned.org, and Twitter at deanabbott.
Great. To find your courses, we go to alifedesign.org/Dean.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, we can find your information there. Jonathan, some final thoughts and how do we get a hold of you?
I will say it is worth to listen to what Dingy just said. And to that, I will just add, make the decision to invest in yourself. That will be a great first choice when it comes to how to choose. Choose yourself. That is not hard actually. It's pretty simple. And take the risk to invest in yourself. If you invest in yourself, you might not see the results overnight. It might take more time than the one that you have in your mind. But at the end of the day, that is the only way that you're going to grow. So invest in yourself, and that means sometimes getting coaching. That is a way to investing in yourself. Get a book. Also, even just spending time watching, like right now, this is on YouTube, so this is for free. Sometimes just paying attention to some words, it's you're not watching like a funny movie on Netflix. You're actually investing in your life because you want to get better. So invest in yourself. That is a great idea to get better ahead in life. You can find me on Instagram as Jonathan R Coaching. Also, YouTube Jonathan R Coaching. TikTok Jonathan R Coaching, and you can reach out to me via Gmail. JonathanRCoaching@gmail.com.
You're also on alifeline.org
And
/
lidesign.org as well.
Jonathan. And your links are all there too. So we'll include the link to your YouTube channel. The final thoughts that I have are that you can be kind to yourself in this process. And that, at the end of the day, you have to look out for you. It's nobody else's job to fulfill your happiness. It's not somebody else's job to be sure you're happy with your work or career, happy with your family situation, that you've identified dreams you like to come true, and you're making progress towards that end. That is up to you. And expressing that to the people around you, the people that are in your life. So take the risk of doing that, knowing that you can pivot. If you find as you're coming down that path, maybe this wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So you can make a new decision if one is needed. But yep, I hope this was helpful for how to choose. Thanks everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you all next time.